Well, as Senate Republicans stand resolute that they will only approve spending for Ukraine if it accompanies legislation to restrict the influx of illegal immigrants at the southern border, pressure is building for the Biden administration to negotiate. Senate Republicans doubt an agreement can be reached until after the Christmas recess. But could the White House engage in negotiations and possibly overrule Senate Democrats? Joining me now to discuss this and more is Senator Ron Johnson from Wisconsin. He serves on the Senate Budget Committee, the Senate Finance Committee, and the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. Senator Johnson, welcome back to Washington Watch.
Well, Tony, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you, Senator, as well. So give us the latest. Are the Senate Democrats in the Biden administration walking in lockstep when it comes to the border and Ukraine funding?
Pretty much. I don't think they've gotten serious yet. My concern is when we start hearing the president talk about compromise. What we want is a secure border. Now, we can, certainly negotiate, what that exactly means, but unfortunately, we have a lawless administration. We have a president that is not faithfully executing the laws. If you want a couple examples, when Supreme Court ruled that the eviction moratorium was unconstitutional, President Biden extended it anyway. When they ruled that forgiving student loans was unconstitutional, he's still forgiving them. So we can't rely on this president to actually follow the law, execute it, or quite honestly, follow through on any agreement he signs. So we need to hold his feet to the fire. That's why I've been proposing any funding must be contingent on benchmarks that he actually achieves. Do this in business all the time. You have performance bonuses, that type of thing. So you can set this thing up. President Trump secured the border in over a 12-month period of time, from his peak to his trough, with return to Mexico, safe third country. It can be done. But we need to be tough. Again, compromise language is not going to do this. Even the toughest language without those benchmarks is not going to secure the border. And that's got to be our bottom line, because the open border promoted by Joe Biden and his Democrat allies is a clear and present danger to America. It has to be our top national security, homeland security priority.
And as you said, Senator, we know how to do this. The Trump administration did it. So, they've already laid out the roadmap on how it can be accomplished. So before or last week, the Republicans in the Senate stood together and said no funding for Ukraine. Yesterday, there was a meeting with President Zelensky from Ukraine. Has that moved anything?
I don't think so. Again, I think most Americans are sympathetic with the plight of the Ukrainian people. They're opposed to the evil war criminal Putin. So from my standpoint, what takes precedent, though, is securing that border. I do believe that we need to bring this war to an end as quickly as possible. We need to get rid of the fantasy that Ukraine can win, unless you define winning further down than what most people would. Ukraine can't do what it would really take to push Russia out of its territory. You'd have to start lobbing missiles into Moscow to start reducing Russian support for the war. So this war will only end with a settlement. Every day that goes by, more Ukrainians die, more Russian conscripts die. I take no joy in that. More of Ukraine gets destroyed. So every day that goes by with this war going on, the settlement becomes worse and worse. So we have to recognize that reality. Let's not engage in fantasies. And whatever funding we do give Ukraine should be used to try and maneuver Putin and get him to realize that this is a lose-lose-lose proposition for everybody.
Right.
And come to a negotiated settlement and stop the killing, stop the destruction.
So that's one of the issues, is what is the projected outcome? What's the goal here? That question needs to be answered. But there's another question, which I think is more down your alley as a former accountant, is there proper accountability for? This is a lot of money that we've given to Ukraine. Are we satisfied that it is being used as they've said they've been using it?
Well, we're certainly not being told the truth. We saw, I think, a Time magazine article saying that somebody in Zelensky's inner circle said that they're stealing like there's no tomorrow. We heard reports, somebody else saying that they really have enough war material to last them till the spring. So what is the truth here? We're not being given the truth, certainly not by this administration, not by this president, who has lied through his teeth on a host of issues when he talks to the American public. So that's part of the problem. We're just not getting the truth, but we're also not recognizing reality. Ukraine, unfortunately, cannot win this war, mainly because Putin cannot afford to lose it, and he won't lose it. This is existential to him if he were to lose this war. He's got nuclear weapons. He would use them if forced into a corner. So let's recognize that reality and do everything we can. One of the things that Zelensky talked about, if he doesn't get the funding, this would, he said, Putin will never take over Ukraine. There's too much resistance. This would turn into a guerrilla war. Well, that's the kind of message he needs to send to Putin. This is a lose-lose situation. So come to the bargaining table. Let's end this destruction. Let's end the killing.
So what does that look like practically? What parts of Ukraine will be given up for this negotiated settlement?
Well, when I was at Zelensky's inauguration, I went back 2 months later. Zelensky, at that point in time, when Russia had already illegally annexed Crimea and was in firmly control of eastern Ukraine, the Donbass region, Zelensky at that point in time wanted to do a peace agreement, recognizing that he wasn't going to reclaim those territories. He was very realistic that way. So he needs to come to that reality as well. As many war crimes have been committed, he has to realize, I mean, there won't be justice for that. I mean, you just can't hold Putin accountable when he has nuclear weapons. So again, I wish you could. I wish you could haul that war criminal before the Hague and hang him. But that's not possible. So you have to recognize the reality situation and lay out for Putin. This will grind you down like Afghanistan ground you down, like it ground America down. Guerrilla warfare is not pleasant for the invading army. So come to terms with the fact that this is going to be settled. And again, come to the terms that every day that it's not settled, the settlement terms get worse and worse and worse.
So, Senator, any sense that President Zelensky is at that point?
Probably not. And I understand the challenge he has. The people of Ukraine have shown unbelievable courage. They've been violated. There have been war crimes committed against them, their family members. They're not going to want to settle, but they're also not going to win. Or better, Putin will not lose this war. And they have to come to that reality, and we've got to end this war.
It's kind of amazing how the world supports Ukraine because of the war crimes of Russia, but there seems to be waning in their support for Israel and the crimes that were committed against them by Hamas terrorists. It's rather interesting. We're gonna talk about that in the next segment with one of your colleagues, Pete Ricketts. Senator, I want to thank you for joining us. Very insightful, and always appreciate you coming on and joining us.
And Merry Christmas. God bless everyone.
Thank you, Senator. Merry Christmas to you as well.